Welcome back to the Perky Collar Radio Show. I'm your host, David M. Frankel, and my next guest today is Matt Hohler, and he created a company called Farmers First, which is a coffee company. Welcome.
Thank you. Very, very happy to be here today. Thank you for allowing me to come on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. And obviously, all our listeners and all of our people that watch the show, almost everyone loves coffee. I mean, even my high school kids love coffee. As much as I've tried to keep them away from the delicious beverage, now iced coffee has become a fan of mine instead of drinking sodas to stay awake and for long days. Help us understand what got you into the coffee business. Very competitive industry.
Certainly, and it's very new to me in a lot of sense. We actually just launched November 25th, so we're excited to be here in Charlotte.
Very good.
But it's kind of an interesting concept that actually was born in the year 2013.
Okay.
After graduating from college, I ended up teaching English for a year in Hondurus.
Wow.
And during that time, it was actually a donation from my grandmother that led me to meet a woman who had a nutrition center. And with this nutrition center, she was feeding over 115 children school meals each day. So I was able to pass on that money to her, which equated to about $1,000. And with that money, she was able to feed those children meat once a week for 4 months.
Wow.
Which really kind of blew my mind. Like, not having meat, that's certainly nothing that we usually go through on a day-to-day basis, especially, if we're not eating it 3 times a day.
Right.
So, it was definitely poverty and even extreme poverty. And, the further I explored around this community, I asked myself why. And most of them were employed as coffee farmers or coffee pickers. And consequently, at the same time, it was really the first time I ever started drinking coffee. And it tasted a million times better than what I had previously known of it. And a passion really kind of started to be born then. But, to me, even to this day, it's not so much about the coffee as it is what coffee can mean as a connection to another place, another culture, another way of life. And, how can we create something really substantial out of that connection that exists through coffee? Because every single coffee bean is literally handpicked.
Wow.
Every single one. So it's a tremendous amount of work. There's over 25 million people around the world that depend on this as a job. Over 125 million when you include the restaurants, the baristas, the importers, et cetera, et cetera. So it's huge. It's one of the biggest industries that exist, as you said. And, the people that are doing the majority of this work are often the ones left in the shadows that, maybe we've heard, yes, coffee farmers don't make any money, but what does that really mean?
Right.
So we found that, on average, their profitability ranges around $2,000 to $3,000 a year for a family of 4 to 5 people. So I really became passionate about this story. It was just a hobby for a number of years. Just started learning the brewing techniques, the history behind it all, which is some fascinating stuff, and kept it in the back of my mind as I pursued other things. I was actually utilizing my degree of exercise science, doing some personal training, and very much of what I want this company to be and what it is it's all about health. We wanted to kind of rewrite the story of coffee and create a model that you can actually impact the health of a coffee farmer, of their community, and just kind of the overall chain. It's an equitable supply chain for everyone involved in it, kind of different than what typically exists on the grand scale that we know coffee as today. So it was actually an illness of my own that was kind of a mystery thing that led me back furthering studying. I completed my master's of public health last year, and that's really kind of how I want to apply this here, even more so in the future. But a lot of people keep asking me, why did you go get a master's of public health and then start a coffee company? Mm-hmm. But to me, this is really what it's all about. And the reality is we've tried to create a model that is going to allow them to take care of their own problems, such as food insecurity, lack of health care, and even being able as business owners to invest in their farms. So what we do is we partner with coffee farmers. Right now, I spent the year in Peru. My business partner is actually there today. And we currently have 3 farmers we've partnered with, and we're working to tell their stories, exactly who these people are, what their names are, who are their family members, their community, and, really trying to create connection to that cup of coffee and to those hands that picked it. And in return for that story, we pay them a 50% bonus, which is about 4 times greater than things as fair trade. We're really trying to cut through those words of traceability and transparency that are so often thrown around this industry, mm-hmm. and really be true to that by leading with their face on the bag. We actually title it Daniel's Coffee and Rosa's Coffee, and ensure that that's actually the coffee from Daniel and Rosa and Emiliano. So coming a little bit more from that public health background, we pay in a really specific way. Other bonuses, such as fair trade, usually make its way back through the supply chain and actually stop short before it reaches the hands of that actual coffee farmer. So we pay a bonus of 50% 6 months after the point of sale. And we really weren't sure about that when we came up with the idea from a standpoint of they only get paid once a year. How can we help them spread their income along with raising the income? And they actually love the idea because it's one of the biggest problems, within the industry. And it's actually really cool to say my business partner, Robert Durrett, is in Peru right now paying those bonuses out today, tomorrow, and the next day. So
He's
really
walking like a parade, I bet.
I want to know what's going on right now. I'm happy to be here with you for sure, but somewhat envious, not being able to participate this time around. But, that's just the reality of it all. Really feels special, though. Really definitely feels cool just to see how much this is needed on their end. And you talk about the competitiveness of this industry is exactly why I feel like we're needed within it, because the identity of the problem is usually lacking. Mm-hmm. Even those businesses that go above and beyond, there's a number of them that I can name, it's still a matter of teaching this consumer what's the reality behind this. As I'm sure in the fashion industry, you're well aware that it's not exclusive to coffee. Right. Our phones, our other food products, our clothing, it's long supply chains in this, very much consumerism world that we live in that, it's just a reality of today. Not to say that there's anything wrong with it, but what can we do to create substantial change? And we have the idea of storytelling, and that's kind of what we're basing ourselves upon, and excited to do so. So we launched on November 25th, as I said, and now we're just full swing of things of every day being persistent, trying to make it work. So we work a little bit differently. People always ask me, "Where's your coffee shop?"
Right.
Well, actually,
find you.
Exactly,
we
but
buy from you.
Exactly. Well, I have a goal to never sell a cup of coffee in my life, because that doesn't serve our ultimate purpose of working with more farmers and also making sure we can come back to these same farmers year after year after year. Mm-hmm. We need to work on volume, so we work to try to connect with local businesses and even elevate their brand in a way that, we want to share this story with you that you can also share with your customers, and very upfront and forward of exactly how this went down and exactly the impact you're helping us create. Mm-hmm. So we just got started on that end, are in a few places in town now, and then obviously available on our website as well. So very excited. It's all been a wild year, and a lot of learning lessons and many more to come.
Well, help our listeners as well as our viewers know how to find you. What's the website?
So it's farmersfirstcoffee.com. You can also check us out on Instagram, which is Farmers First Coffee, and a Facebook page as well.
Excellent. So how do you sell it? You sell it by the bag?
By the bag. We also sell 2-pound and 5-pound bags. And I forgot to mention, we are also available in the Rhino Market in South Church Street in Uptown, as well as the Laurel Market as well. So those are two of the first places we're in, and we're really excited about that as well. So typically we sell them by the bag, and a couple different sizes there. We have a really cool subscription service as well that actually it will just come up each month. You don't have to think about it, set it and forget it. Mm-hmm. And I'm really happy to say it's really good coffee too, and
sure.
Really proud of that, and testament of the hard work that it takes to get there, and really highlighting these people that are doing so. You can tell with each cup that it's a bit different, and I apologize to you for not bringing one in today, but I'm going to make sure to get you one.
I gave him a hard time before we started on air. Like, okay, well, where's this great coffee? I want to taste it.
Yes.
We're going to do some sampling, but that's okay. You can sample it by going online and sample it yourself, and then give us feedback. Go to when we post this on YouTube and when we post it on Facebook, give us a review. We'd love to have it. And that way people can know what their favorite flavors are as well.
Certainly.
So it's interesting that the coffee bean is hand-picked. You think
Mm-hmm.
there's so much automation now that somebody that's selling a ton of coffee out there
Mm-hmm.
Is getting away from coffee farmers, or has found a way to automate the picking system.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great point, and somebody has. So Brazil is actually about the only place in the world where it's actually machine picked, which causes a couple problems.
Okay. Help us understand the difference.
Yeah, certainly. Well, number one is really good coffee grows at high altitude and really rough terrain that you really we don't have the technology quite yet that the machines can go pick on that really tough terrain, different plants, things in the way that, you need to be able to adjust accordingly.
Sure.
and go pick it by hand. So in Brazil, they've actually leveled out a number of fields through over hundreds of years to make it flat and make it very easy to harvest. But another big component of quality is only to pick the red, ripe cherries. And when you go strip it all at once, whether by hand or with the mechanical process, you can't, separate that distinction between the green ones and the red ones because it doesn't happen all at once like some fruit trees might. So coffee actually is a fruit, and it comes in this red little cherry. It's kind of crazy to really see this whole process. And, so Brazil is the worldwide leader and very much can dictate the market. It's known as the C market, which is basically commodity coffee, the Folgers and, the lower quality type stuff that's out there is typically what everyone gets paid off of. This is the market price and this is what you get. And then however many hands get in between that farmer for them to sell it to someone. And, that's kind of the issue at hand. But it's really amazing to see with coffee, the higher altitude you go, you typically get a better quality due to the harder density of the bean. But at the same time, one thing that's interesting is how Brazil is affecting this market, that the best price that was ever received for coffee was actually between 1975 and 1977, when it was all the way up to $3 to $4 per pound. Wow. And the reason being because a frost occurred in Brazil. And when that frost happens, the coffee dies. It cannot survive. It immediately, dies overnight. And the market went way up, So conversely, the opposite kind of happened in the early 2000s. There was actually an agreement through the International Coffee Agreement in 1989. This is pretty thick, but I'm going to go through this quickly here. So the International Coffee Agreement was an international organization that set quotas on each country of what you could grow, so there wasn't an imbalance within the market. Well, the United States decided to leave that for whatever reason. And when they left this agreement, as the largest purchaser of coffee worldwide, the quotas were free to, do what you want as a country, essentially. Start growing as much as you could, which actually had Vietnam put a number of government assisted programs into coffee growing, which they went from middle of the pack, 15th, 20th, highest producing coffee country in the world, all the way up to number 2 almost overnight. So all of a sudden, the world had way more coffee, and by 2001, the price crashed to the depths of the Great Depression, 30 cents per pound, unlivable. Even with all the difficulties that exist today, where it's roughly at $1.25 per pound, it really, really got bad. So it's a really interesting market to try to dissect and try to understand, especially on both levels, from the farm level to the consumer level here. It's been interesting to really look through that world and see how crazy it is and how it all makes its way to us. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of our viewers and listeners, they have no idea where their coffee comes from.
Certainly.
So could you help us understand where some of the major brands get their coffee?
So, as I said, Brazil is number 1 in the world, Vietnam.
As of today.
And as of today.
So like the big companies like Starbucks, they get most of their coffee from Brazil, you think? Or do you...
Brazil, Colombia definitely would be big ones. I know they get a lot from Peru as well. This is where we source our coffee from too. But that's kind of the interesting about it is, you being one coffee farmer, there's over 70 coffee producing countries in the world. So if there's a drought in one area or there's a disease called yellow coffee rust that kills all the plants in one area, Starbucks can just go somewhere else.
Right.
There's not a shortage of coffee, but you can be affected in one specific area. So typically most people would drink a Brazilian or Colombian just off of sheer numbers alone. But it's hard to say, especially as this specialty coffee market advances more and more. You're at least getting a little bit more transparency that this came from Ethiopia or this came from Honduras. You can find all kinds of different stuff, but typically speaking, you just don't know. So it's hard to say, but just from
or it could be a combination of places,
which is often the case too.
Is there anyone growing coffee in the United States? And if so,
this is fascinating.
What's the pros and cons of growing here?
This is fascinating. Obviously, there's Hawaiian coffee, which has this Kona coffee, has a very high reputation of very high quality. Which, to me, you can grow great coffee anywhere in any country. You can have some absolutely amazing coffees,
including the United States,
including Hawaii. And
nowhere else in the United States, Hawaii?
Well, there's some developing there. So, but one thing I want to mention is that the price at $40 per pound for Kona, real true Kona coffee is, partly because of the brand they've put behind it, but also because think about the people picking that. They're not making $1, $2,000, $3,000 a year. They're making $10, $15, $20 an hour.
Right.
So that's, the costs are so much higher in a place like Hawaii where, whether you stand on the fence with global warming or not, they are actually now growing coffee in California as well, which it's brand new. This hasn't been going on for long, and it's certainly not in a commercial level, but they're selling pounds of coffee for upwards of $90 when it's coming out of California due to the novelty of it. I can't speak of the quality of it, just because I don't know. I'm sure it's probably pretty good, but definitely fascinating. Really, really interesting. But typically speaking, coffee's only supposed to grow with a 12-degree radius between the equator. So about Mexico all the way down to the southern regions of Peru is where it kind of ends.
And that's why there's some geographical limitations.
Exactly.
Because it needs to come so close to the equator.
Yeah, we'll never grow it in Alaska, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm
pretty confident of that.
Yeah.
So.
I was thinking the same thing with, you said high altitude. I was thinking of Colorado.
Yep.
But it has the same issue. It's too cold. And
exactly.
That's why it can't grow there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Which even, makes it even more interesting of those same countries. The higher you grow things in Peru like potatoes at 6,000 feet elevation, very, very high. Right below coffee, cacao or chocolate actually is better at lower elevations. So you find cacao and coffee to intersect a lot. And it's interesting, very, very similar issues behind that industry as well. Yet coffee being the drug that it is, we all have a little bit of a love, a romance to the beverage, as we do as chocolate, but it's just not quite the same. You know? We have coffee every day. We might not have chocolate every day.
That's true. Mm-hmm. I'm sure some of you listening and watching do have coffee and chocolate every day, and that's okay.
Good for you.
So help us understand the journey you're about to take, because obviously you're getting into a very competitive industry.
Certainly.
What's next for your business? Where do you go from here? What's the first step?
Certainly.
How do you grow the business? Obviously, there may be other people watching that may have grown up in a culture where they could grow coffee at their family's farm and would like to get into the coffee business, but they feel it's so competitive they wouldn't get into it. So what gives you the excitement and what gives you the passion besides the people that are the farmers and paying them better? We've already talked about that.
Certainly.
But what is your biggest undertaking right now to bring this brand, this product, this high quality, this mission of helping the actual coffee farmers? What's your next goal? Kind of give me an idea of the next 6 months or next year?
Certainly, and it's such a learning process. So much of this is very new to me that I am learning every single day and shaping that answer every single day. But essentially how our model is designed to work is through a distribution model where we're going to partner with cafes, restaurants, small markets for now, that we can get in as many retailers as possible, build this brand through social media, go to as many events and festivals, and really try to grow organically through this first year to support more and more farmers. So, I've set a lofty goal if we could get 100 businesses by the end of the year, which I'm shooting for the stars on that one.
That's right.
That would be great. But if we can get to 50 businesses by this year, I would be really excited that are representing our farmers, really joining us in our team or our network or our family, and essentially just build on that year after year and really try to figure out what is the best route to move these volumes and these numbers, because even though it's one coffee farmer and their family, they grow a few thousand pounds each. So you got to create demand behind that, and that's where we need to continue to keep this story fresh. We need to continue to really share and connect people to the source, and we'll do that through different farmers. We'll be sourcing from Hondurus in another 4 to 5 months. So we'll actually be adding a second country, planning on bringing in 3 to 5 more farmers. We'll see where we're at here in a few months to kind of tell that a little bit more. But even being, I'd be very happy to end the year at 6 farmers and 50 businesses that we're wholesaling our product to. And, the cafes, the restaurants, those are great because they really sell a lot of coffee. So It's really about finding people, though, honestly, that share our vision and mission in regards to making sure that they're doing their part and really believing in what we do as well. It's helped us a lot to get to the point we've had. We've had a very successful year. The way we really brought this to the market in the first place and created a demand was through Kickstarter, which was an awesome learning experience. We actually finished in the top 1% in the drink category project, so we were able to raise over $53,000 doing that.
Good for you.
And
congratulations.
Thank you. And over 600 people got to get their coffee, and man, timing has just been a blessing to us. Got all those orders out about November 15th through the 17th. We're arriving just before Christmas, and we actually launched our website on Black Friday.
Wow.
So,
great timing again.
It's just been crazy, and, there's a bit of backstory there, how timing has been, just on our side in a number of ways. But, and to me, it's just a new entrepreneur is just fighting through these challenges because they're sure to come. what's next is going to be the thing that gets in your way. But what keeps me going is just knowing the impact that we can create and actually having this real relationship with these people, and what it means to them. The promise I've made to them is we're going to do this and we're going to pay you this bonus this year, but I'm certainly planning on doing it again next year and the year after, and really creating substantial that in the long term we would love to have 500 farmers one day.
That's excellent.
Yeah. And
can you walk the viewers and listeners through the process of the product has landed? Mm-hmm. You have 60, I think you said, that were pre-ordered. At that time, was it 60 or 600? 600 pre-orders. Pre-orders. Mm-hmm. What does that feel like to have that land and then have to label it, package it, get it out the door? How long did it take you from landed to getting all those pre-orders out the door?
So it started.
Give us an idea of how many hours in that day you spent.
It was fun.
Was it fun?
Kind of.
It's not fun.
I've done it.
It's not fun.
It wasn't fun. We spent about.
But it's exciting.
It was
the
great.
Excitement is what pushed you through
yeah,
long
to
hours.
really see this come together, and it took about 9 months to come from on the farm. What's our model going to be? How are we going to really help you? To this is in our hands now.
Right.
It was super exciting.
So exciting.
So just to roast the coffee, grind it if need be, bag it all. We had about 1,000 bags.
Okay.
That 2 and 3 of us did in 18 hours.
Wow.
And then 2 of us, with a little bit of help here and there, spent about another 50 hours over the next 3 days. So we probably almost did 70 hours in 4 days.
I mean, it pizza parties to get people to stay up
I was
late.
not eating very healthy, that's for sure. We were just
drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah, a lot of coffee. But it was Rose's coffee and it was Daniel's coffee, so that was kind of neat, kind of cool to do. So definitely. And I'm happy to be past that point. But one I'll never forget. It was definitely just being in that moment of we're here. You had this dream, you had this vision, and now it's in front of you. Let's go get it. And that's what I just try to keep fresh in my mind every day too.
So how did it arrive? It arrived just as the bean, and then you had to...
Yeah, so it arrives in
walk us through that process of packaging.
So it arrives from Peru to the port in New York City, comes down here by freight to North Carolina, and we had I got to even look how many bags, but 150-pound bags.
Okay.
So you cut that bag open, you roast about 25 pounds at a time.
Okay.
And then you go through that whole process. And
we pretty hardy roaster.
Yeah, exactly. So that portion.
I think it's going overdrive. It's smoking after those 3 or 4 days.
Exactly. Well, it can handle a lot.
Right.
But basically you let it roast, you let it sit for a day. Due to the release of carbon dioxide that happens, the bags can actually expand, and that's why they have filters in them now. But essentially from that roast point, it's ready to be individually packaged, which you grind it, put it in the bag, you weigh it, you hit it with the sealer, and that's one of 1,000 essentially.
Okay.
And then
the packaging already come labeled and
nope.
Or just put stickers on them? Or
this was another one that was a fun learning experience.
This is stuff they don't talk about on Shark Tank.
No, you don't see the real details that goes into it all.
Yeah.
So it ended up looking really great, but the way we branded it was just using a normal craft box. Everything we use is craft to give that feel of the farm.
Okay.
And we have a stamp that says the story of coffee begins with the people behind it.
Okay.
So I probably stamped 2,500 boxes the week and a half before we started that crazy workload.
Okay.
That luckily they were already stamped,
oh my goodness,
but then so that was a lot of work, and then printing every single label. This all took place from my uncle's garage, so I love you, Uncle Jim. But then we also had branded tape that really came together in a way that was awesome. That I'm not a brand expert. Although I'm becoming one, but it was really just kind of cool to really feel like we hit it right from the first time, from our package with the farmers right on the bag to that entire experience. We deliver with these farmers cards that give a quick bio and a real photo of the farmers, and
very cool.
We had over 600 or 700 handwritten thank yous. That was also not part of that hours in there as well. So, it was just to do the fundraising efforts behind it. It was a solid month of 10 to 12 hours every single day throughout that Kickstarter campaign. Then we went for a month or 2 of just planning products, and I haven't even mentioned we had to change our name in the middle of all this too. So we used to be Levanta Coffee. And there was another company in New Jersey called Levanta Coffee. And, we didn't not get rewarded.
Spelled the same or just pronounced
differently? Spelled differently.
Okay, but close enough that they had a hissy.
Well, they didn't bring it up, but we essentially could have fought our.
Plus, you have brand confusion.
If it's
close.
That was the real issue behind it. Was we love that name because Levanta is Spanish for lift up, for wake up. You wake up with a cup of coffee. Let's lift up the people behind it.
Sure.
It had a really cool meaning, and we actually made the decision that we needed to rebrand a week before the Kickstarter happened.
Nice.
So we waited.
How stressful at all?
It was great.
Young.
It was a blessing in disguise, though, because now our name really speaks to our mission that we don't have to explain this to you anymore. It's just, you help farmers first. There she is, right on the back. So we decided to make this announcement after the Kickstarter was successful, 1 month after the fact of how do you rebrand yourself before you've even really done anything.
Right.
And it just worked out, another timing thing. It was National Coffee Day. And we decided we needed a more direct message. Even was the bigger learning lesson of all, that it was such a blessing in disguise that it went off without a hitch, made more sense, it was more clear, and just one of those challenges that you face. And
right.
And in that moment, it seems like the end of the world, but you shouldn't put those preconceived notions on what this is going to mean for you, because it ended up being great. And so then we could really focus on product development after we went through all of that, which was a fascinating experience. And then all this work finally coming together. It was definitely a special moment when we had that Sunday to rest and relax and have a beer. It was well deserved.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah. So help me understand who all was involved with the packaging. Did your family get involved to help you? Do you have kids that helped you? Parents,
it was mostly
aunts, uncles,
it was mostly just my business partner and I, Robert
Okay.
Durrett. We had a couple hours here and there from my uncle, my cousin, and another friend, Travis.
College friends,
well.
something. Come on. Former college friends, I should say, not ex. But.
Well, we've had a guy that I actually have to give a special thank you to. Travis has been helping us out. We met because he read about us on a blog post.
Really?
It was Make Change, and
it's like, hey guys, want to come over with make some coffee bags? They're like, hello?
It's pretty much exactly how it happened.
Why did they call you back? I don't understand.
He reached out in October, and I was coming down to meet with our roaster, and I said, hey, yeah, he wanted to be involved, so I said, let's grab a coffee, let's talk, and he's been above and beyond ever since, and he came and helped out during that moment, and we've done about 4 events ever since, and he's shown up to everyone, and it really has just been an amazing help. And I think part of that just speaks to when you really bring a why to what you do. Mm-hmm. Those people that align with that why are going to follow, and they're going to help you succeed. And we're super thankful for you, Travis. So
that's very important, and I think that's as an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about starting a business or bringing a product to market, I think it's a real test of your family and your friends is who's there when the product does land. And to give you a quick story of the Perky Collar, when the Perky Collars arrived, they came in a little plastic sleeve. So I had to take it out of the plastic sleeve. That was the job of my 2-year-old at the time. Now he's 5. We had the box, had a lid, a top, and a bottom. We had to put the artwork on the back. We had to put the artwork inside. And then we had to take a band and put it all the way around. So it's basically a 5-step process. And all the kids in my household got involved. But you're also scared a little bit because this is for retail.
You don't want to mistake.
You don't want to make mistakes. Stick it on upside down. It's crinkled. It's not, different things. But it really does take a group to make it all happen. Because if you try and do it all yourself, it'll take so much longer. And it just doesn't. It feels nice that the community can come together. And I had people come over. Shout out to David Rosenthal who came over and just as a nice gesture for a couple hours and helped me knock out some boxes because I had some orders to fill and. I need some extra hands. So, but it's the things you don't hear about on Shark Tank, you don't see on TV, that people do as entrepreneurs and startups. That is so grueling and so different than anything you've ever done for anyone else you work for.
Certainly. That
really is built up who you are as an entrepreneur. Gets you ready for the next big challenge.
Certainly.
So if you can get that 600 orders out ahead of time, or as quickly as you possibly can, because they're excited.
Yeah.
And you want to get that product in their hands as quickly as possible. Just like my pre-orders were excited. I want to get out to them as fast as possible. But there's only so many hours in a day. Only so many cups of coffee you can drink and still function. But it's exciting when that product first lands. I think that's one of the most exciting things. You've thought about it and so excited, and it's finally here. And you're like, oh gosh, I have to get the orders out. That's hard.
Well, and our timing was right before Thanksgiving that we felt it was so important to get this on everybody's, kitchen tables for the holidays, and that's where we really felt the pressure because we had this much time to make it happen. And there was even a mistake on the end of our manufacturers for the bags that they were supposed to send. There was 2 shipments coming. We had one come early to make sure it got there because we had 1 day to package this stuff or it wasn't going to work. And they were supposed to send an even split to the person, but they only sent us all of Daniel's bags. So we didn't even have Rose's bags that one day we had to package them all. So my cousin, after working all day, went to his house, picked up the package that arrived that day, drove it an hour out to us, and then an hour back home. That basically saved the day. We were there till midnight, got home in bed by 1:30 and up by 6 a.m. the next day to do it all over again. But if it wasn't for him, I think half of our orders probably wouldn't have made it out just from that one small little instance, which is, a great example of exactly what you're saying.
Right. Everyone contributes, and that's the real key to make it all happen.
Our family, friends, everyone really did too. To get over 600 people on Kickstarter is not an easy feat. No. And, we went everything from a bag of coffee to year-long subscriptions to even selling origin trips to Hondurus to really invite people into this story that we're taking over 22 people down there here this spring, summer, and fall. So, it was amazing to see how many people really supported us and believed in what we were doing. And, and that's why I have belief that we can go far. As big as we want to dream for this, I think we can make it happen even in a crowded market as coffee.
Now, on your website, and when people visit your website, which we said is farmersfirstcoffee.com, another plug for you. Can they meet the farmers there? Is there videos or pictures?
Yeah, most definitely. You got to scroll down a little bit to see the video. But we actually have sections that say meet Daniel, meet Rosa, and meet Emiliano. It'll take you through their community, their age. Do they have a wife? Their favorite food, the community challenges face, and we even have a few tabs that you can click on the button that'll show you exactly where they're at in Peru, and even a transparency scorecard as well that really tells you what this transaction was. And for this year, we were happy to say that Daniel's profitability as a small-scale entrepreneur himself was able to raise by 60%, and Rosa's all the way by 80%.
Wow.
So that's where our model really is impactful above and beyond other things that exist out in the marketplace. And, it really allows us to be true to what we want to do.
Sure. And how do they feel? Do they feel like little celebrities or not yet? Or?
I'm so interested to get that feedback
like a
after this week.
Talk show at some point.
Yeah, we've spoken with them a few times since. And, obviously a big part of our marketing plans is this week as we deliver these bonuses. How has this changed things for you? And we actually took a list of comments of what everybody said about their coffee and their hard work, and are going to share those thoughts with them. So I'm so excited to see what their reactions are, because that's what's so valuable, of really connecting and really feeling that relationship that we're trying to create. In a way, my mom actually asked me beforehand. I sent her a photo I can actually show this to you real quickly, that it's actually Rosa from today, that she has a bag of coffee that has her face on it. And, and she said, does she know she's somewhat famous now?
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not sure.
That's very cool.
I'll be able to tell you later tonight, hopefully. So, yeah.
Very cool. I mean, I think they have to at some point feel a little bit of a celebrity status after their stories being told as well. And otherwise, they just work like crazy and not have that celebrity status, even though it's their hard work that's creating a beverage that they enjoy on a daily basis. So it's great that you're giving them a higher income level, much that they need and can appreciate as hard as they work. And at the same time, you're letting someone that works that hard get a little bit of fame out of it, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
So putting the time and effort in. Well, it's excellent.
Cool.
Well, again, I want to thank my special guest today, Matt Hohler, founder of Farmers First. And again, his website is farmersfirstcoffee.com. And it's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot about coffee.
Cool.
And I'm sure our listeners and viewers have learned a lot about coffee as well. And I hope you support the three farmers and more that are coming to Farmers First very soon.
Yeah, certainly. And we'd love for you guys to try their coffee for sure. We are sure you'll enjoy it. It's some of the best coffee I've personally ever had. I'm not biased at all.
No, of course not.
But go ahead and there's a code to give you a little bit of a 10% discount. It's Put Farmers First. So the website is farmersfirstcoffee.com. And if you use that code, Put Farmers First, it gives you a little bit of a savings. But we really want you to invite you, give it a try, and definitely let us know what you think of it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Yeah.
And you're listening to the Perky Collar Radio Show here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. And we will see you next week.